Tommy Lee Jones is a name synonymous with Hollywood toughness. From his roles in Men in Black to the haunting intensity of No Country for Old Men, he has often portrayed characters who are stoic, unyielding, and enigmatic. Yet behind the camera, behind a carefully maintained public image, lies a man whose life has been marked by personal tragedy, pain that he rarely speaks of, pain that only now, in a rare interview, he is willing to share. It begins, he says quietly, with the family he loved most. Those closest to him remember a man fiercely protective of his private life, someone who cherished his children and maintained a quiet yet unwavering presence for those who mattered most. But life, as it often does, threw unexpected challenges in ways that no amount of fame or fortune could shield him from. Tragedy arrived not with fanfare, not in headlines, but in small, devastating ways that compounded over years. One loss led to another, and before he knew it, the weight of grief had become a daily companion. He speaks of the moments that broke him in ways acting never could. Late nights alone in his home, staring at the walls that had witnessed so much laughter, so much love, now echoing with absence. Photographs on the mantel, reminders of faces that would never return. He tells the interviewer about the quiet despair that comes not from one catastrophic event, but from the slow erosion of normalcy. The missed birthdays, the holidays spent apart, the empty seats at family dinners that no one could fill. Despite the hardships, Tommy Lee Jones never sought sympathy. In fact, part of his pain came from the expectation that he must remain strong, as if the public image of resilience could somehow shield his heart from reality. You learn to compartmentalize, he admits, to go on for the sake of others, to smile, to show up, even when inside you're falling apart. Is this duality, his public stoicism and private sorrow, that makes his story so compelling? Fans have always admired his on-screen toughness, but the real strength he now reveals is surviving the invisible battles. He recounts the most painful day vividly. A day when everything he had been holding inside threatened to surface all at once. The phone call that changed everything, a message that no parent should ever receive. He pauses, collecting himself, his gaze distant. There are no words, he says finally, only the emptiness that follows. And in that emptiness, he learned a lesson that would shape the rest of his life. That love and loss are inseparable, that the deepest joys come with the risk of unimaginable grief. Yet even in tragedy, there is a subtle thread of hope. Tommy Lee Jones speaks of resilience, not as a grand statement, but as a quiet, persistent act. The kind of resilience that pushes him to continue working, to pour himself into roles that demand empathy and strength, to honor the memory of those he has lost by living fully for those who remain. He emphasizes that fame and accolades, as much as they matter to the outside world, cannot substitute for the presence of family, for the simple act of being there for the people who matter most. Everything else is noise, he says softly. It's the moments with them that count. As the interview progresses, he allows glimpses of vulnerability, moments where the mask of celebrity slips and the human being beneath is revealed. He laughs quietly at a memory of his children, a laugh that carries both warmth and sorrow, a reminder that life is never entirely dark. There is regret, certainly, regret over words left unsaid, time wasted, opportunities missed, but also gratitude. Gratitude for what he did have, for the love he experienced, for the resilience he discovered within himself. He reflects on how these experiences have altered his perception of Hollywood, fame, and the very craft that has defined him. Roles that once seemed purely professional now carry deeper significance. He approaches characters with an understanding of pain that is intimate and personal, an understanding that only someone who has endured loss can possess. It is this depth that distinguishes his performances, that imbues his characters with a palpable humanity, and that allows audiences to see beyond the mask into the complexity of a man shaped by life's harshest lessons. By the time the interview concludes, it is clear that Tommy Lee Jones' story is not one of defeat, but of survival. Tragedy has left its mark, yet it has not defined him entirely. He walks forward with the quiet dignity that has always characterized him, carrying memories of those lost alongside the hope for moments yet to come. The narrative he shares is heartbreaking, yes, but it is also inspiring, a testament to the endurance of the human spirit, the power of reflection, and the enduring bond of family, even in the face of unimaginable loss. As viewers, we are left with more than a story of sorrow. We are given a window into the life of a man whose personal struggles mirror the very struggles many of us face, reminding us that even those who appear invincible carry burdens unseen. Tommy Lee Jones' openness is rare, precious, and deeply moving. It is a confession that, while painful, illuminates the resilience that defines him, not just as an actor, but as a father, a friend, and a human being. In the days following the interview, the world reacted with a mix of shock, empathy, and speculation. Fans flooded social media with messages of support, sharing their own stories of loss and resilience. Yet for Tommy, the attention was secondary. The real focus remained on what he had shared, the raw, unvarnished truth about the fragility of family and the human heart. Fame, he realized, was powerless against grief. No award, no accolade, no standing ovation could ease the ache of absence. He reflects on how these experiences have reshaped his priorities. Where once career milestones were the measure of success, he now gauges life by the strength of relationships and the authenticity of moments shared. Time spent laughing with children, talking late into the night with loved ones, or simply sitting in silence with someone who understands. These, he admits, are the achievements that matter most. And yet, paradoxically, these lessons arrived through heartbreak. Loss, he discovered, is often the teacher we do not choose but cannot ignore. Colleagues and close friends note a subtle change in him since speaking publicly about the tragedy. He moves with a quiet deliberateness, more introspective yet still profoundly present in the world. Roles he once approached purely as a craft now carry layers of personal significance. Characters are no longer just lines to memorize. They are vessels through which he channels lived emotion, grief, hope, and resilience. This depth, he believes, is what makes performance an act of catharsis, both for himself and for the audience. He recounts moments of private reflection that remain with him. Simple memories, a smile, a shared joke, a glance exchanged in understanding, serve as anchors amidst the turbulence. Even the hardest days are tempered by these small, luminous instances of connection. They remind him that while tragedy reshapes life, it does not erase love. It does not diminish the impact of moments that truly mattered. You carry them with you, he says, in your choices, in your work, in the way you show up every day. Yet the journey is ongoing. Healing, he acknowledges, is not linear. Grief ebbs and flows, sometimes quietly, sometimes like a tidal wave. And while he has found ways to cope, he remains aware of the fragility of the human spirit. This awareness fuels not only his personal life, but also the choices he makes professionally, selecting projects that resonate, surrounding himself with collaborators who understand, and speaking candidly when the moment demands it. The interview, in hindsight, represents more than a disclosure. It is a turning point. By confronting and articulating his pain, Tommy Lee Jones not only liberates himself from the weight of secrecy, but also offers a rare gift to others: permission to acknowledge their own suffering, to honor it, and to navigate it with dignity. He demonstrates that vulnerability, far from being weakness, is a form of courage that allows human connection to flourish, even in the shadow of loss. In closing, he emphasizes one key message for audiences: cherish those you love, speak openly, and do not wait for tragedy to remind you of what truly matters. Fame and recognition may fade, but the bonds of family, the moments of care, and the quiet acts of presence endure. It is in these acts, he insists, that life's most profound meaning is found. The tragedy he faced has left scars, yes, but it has also illuminated the pathways to understanding, empathy, and profound human resilience. And as viewers, we are left not only with a portrait of a man who has endured heartbreak, but with a reflection on our own lives. Tommy Lee Jones' story reminds us that behind every public figure lies a private world of emotion, and behind every heartache, there is a lesson waiting to be embraced. Even years later, Tommy Lee Jones admits that the shadow of his family's tragedy never fully disappears. It lingers quietly in the small, unexpected moments. A photograph left on a desk, the echo of laughter that once filled a room, or a memory triggered by a familiar song. It is a subtle presence, one that does not dominate his life, but quietly shapes it, informing the way he sees the world and the choices he makes. In interviews, he often deflects questions about his personal life, a habit born from decades of guarding both his family and his own emotions. Yet the recent disclosure revealed a willingness to confront the past openly, a willingness he admits came from a need to process the pain, rather than for public validation. "I realized," he said, "that keeping everything inside only made the weight heavier. Speaking, even just once, can lift a little of it." Colleagues who have worked closely with him describe a subtle transformation in his work. Where before he approached roles with technical precision and instinct, he now brings a deeper emotional resonance. Scenes that require grief, empathy, or moral complexity are infused with the authenticity of someone who has lived those emotions. Directors note that his quiet intensity has always been a hallmark of his craft, but now it carries an added layer: the weight of lived experience, the understanding of real pain, and the capacity to translate that into his art. Yet even as he channels his experiences into performance, he acknowledges the personal toll. Relationships are not always easy to navigate after profound loss. Trust can feel fragile, and moments of joy are often accompanied by a reminder of what is missing. He speaks candidly about the balance he has had to strike, honoring memories while moving forward, holding on without being consumed, and finding gratitude amidst sorrow. It is a delicate equilibrium, one that he maintains with conscious effort each day. There's also the impact on his children, who witness their father navigating public scrutiny and private grief simultaneously. Tommy reflects on the delicate role of parent, how to provide stability while being honest about life's challenges, how to show strength without hiding vulnerability, and how to instill resilience while acknowledging the weight of loss. "I had to learn," he says, "that being present is more important than being perfect, and that sometimes just showing up is the greatest gift you can give." Fans who have followed his career for decades often speak of admiration for his on-screen persona, yet few have truly grasped the human being behind it. Part 3 of this story peels back that layer, revealing a man grappling with sorrow, yet finding purpose. He does not romanticize tragedy, nor does he frame his experiences as heroic. Instead, he presents them plainly, with honesty, and with the implicit understanding that life is a combination of loss, love, and perseverance. The broader lesson, Tommy notes, is universal. Everyone carries burdens, many unseen. Everyone experiences moments where grief threatens to overwhelm. Yet in acknowledging those moments, in confronting them instead of hiding, there is potential for growth. He encourages others to face their own vulnerabilities, to embrace the lessons hidden within pain, and to allow grief to coexist with love, rather than attempting to erase it. As the conversation concludes, he reflects on legacy, not fame, not accolades, but the way one impacts the lives of those closest to them. He hopes his honesty might offer comfort to others who feel isolated in their suffering, a reminder that pain is part of life, but that resilience, empathy, and connection endure. "We all carry shadows," he says, "but the light we create in our daily acts of love, presence, and understanding is what defines us in the end." Even as the years pass, Tommy Lee Jones acknowledges that the journey through grief and healing is ongoing. There is no neat resolution, no singular moment where the weight of tragedy disappears. Instead, he describes it as a landscape he navigates daily, a terrain of memory, reflection, and careful intention. Some days are quiet and manageable. Others, the echoes of loss resurface with sudden intensity. Yet he has learned that facing these moments head-on, rather than avoiding them, is essential to maintaining both his emotional health and his relationships. He reflects on the lessons this journey has taught him about life, fame, and what truly matters. Hollywood, he notes, can create illusions of permanence and control, but no career, no award, no public acclaim can substitute for meaningful human connection. You realize quickly, he says, that what endures is not what people applaud. It's the love and presence you cultivate with those you care about. These insights have shifted his priorities, reshaping the way he interacts with family, friends, and even his work. Tommy's children, he explains, became both a source of solace and a mirror for self-reflection. Witnessing their growth, their resilience, and their capacity for empathy inspired him to remain emotionally present, even when facing his own inner turmoil. Parenting, he admits, became a lesson in humility. It demanded vulnerability, patience, and an acknowledgement that life's hardships, though painful, can serve as opportunities for connection and understanding. You can't shield them from everything, he notes, but you can show them how to face life with integrity and courage. His reflections extend into his work as well. Roles that once seemed merely professional now carry deeper personal resonance. Characters confronting moral dilemmas, loss, or human frailty become conduits for expressing lived experience. Directors and co-stars have observed a subtle transformation, a gravitas and authenticity in his performances that was always present, but now imbued with the texture of real-life pain and insight. The Hollywood icon known for his stoic intensity now embodies not only strength, but profound vulnerability on screen, bridging the gap between character and actor in ways few can replicate. Yet even in this narrative of endurance, he is candid about the costs. Grief can leave one emotionally exhausted. The act of continually navigating loss can be isolating. He discusses the challenge of balancing public life with private mourning, of protecting family while remaining open enough to heal. It is a delicate tension, one that requires constant attention, patience, and self-awareness. But he insists that confronting this reality, rather than denying it, is essential for personal growth. Tommy Lee Jones also reflects on the broader human lessons that emerge from his experience. Loss and hardship, he notes, are universal. They touch everyone in ways both large and small. Recognizing that grief is not a weakness, but a natural response to love and attachment, has become central to his perspective. He encourages others to embrace their own emotional truths, to seek support when needed, and to find meaning even in the darkest moments. The narrative he shares is not meant to elicit pity, but to offer insight into resilience, empathy, and the enduring power of human connection. As the conversation turns to the future, he expresses a sense of cautious hope. While the scars of tragedy remain, he is determined to honor the memory of those lost by living fully and intentionally. He finds meaning in the small gestures, a shared meal, a conversation with a friend, a quiet evening with his children. These moments, he believes, carry more significance than any public recognition or accolade. Life, in its essence, is measured not by fame, but by presence, care, and connection. By the end of Part 4, it becomes evident that Tommy Lee Jones' journey is one of both endurance and transformation. Tragedy shaped him, yes, but it did not define him entirely. Instead, it offered clarity, a recognition of what matters most, a deeper empathy for others, and an unwavering commitment to live with authenticity. His story reminds audiences that even those who seem invulnerable carry hidden burdens, yet there is profound strength in facing them, learning from them, and moving forward with grace. In revealing this chapter of his life, Tommy Lee Jones does more than share personal hardship. He provides a blueprint for resilience, a testament to the human spirit, and a reminder that love, memory, and presence endure even in the shadow of tragedy. For viewers, it is both a revelation and a lesson that the greatest achievements in life are not found on stage or screen, but in the quiet, meaningful acts of caring, witnessing, and simply being present for those we love. And so, the narrative concludes, not with finality, but with continuity. Grief, memory, and love coexist, shaping the man behind the legend. Tommy Lee Jones stands as an example of perseverance, emotional honesty, and the enduring power of family, themes that resonate universally, far beyond Hollywood. Even after decades in the spotlight, Tommy Lee Jones admits that the emotional imprint of family tragedy is enduring. It is not something that fades with time, nor is it a chapter that can be neatly closed. Instead, it exists as a quiet companion, a reminder of what was lost, what was learned, and what continues to matter. He describes it as a kind of emotional echo, resonating in everyday moments, the laughter of a child, the quiet of an empty room, the memory of voices that once filled a home. These echoes, he says, are not burdens to bear alone. They are reminders of love and the responsibility to honor it. For Tommy, the process of confronting grief has led to a profound reevaluation of his own life and priorities. Where once career achievements and public recognition might have seemed paramount, he now measures success by the quality of human connection. The lessons gleaned from personal loss have reshaped his understanding of family, friendship, and even his own craft. He emphasizes that relationships, intimate, authentic, and present, carry far more weight than accolades or box office numbers. At the end of the day, he reflects, it's the bonds you nurture and the moments you are truly present that define a life well lived. He speaks candidly about the subtle ways tragedy has influenced his work. Characters that require moral complexity, emotional depth, or vulnerability are no longer just roles to perform. They are mirrors reflecting his own experiences. Directors and co-stars have noted a newfound intensity in his performances, a depth that comes from lived reality. The quiet pain, the private sorrow, the resilience forged through personal struggle, all of it informs the way he inhabits a character. Tommy Lee Jones has always commanded attention on screen, but now he does so with a weight of authenticity few can match. Yet even as he channels grief into art, he acknowledges the continuing challenge of balancing private healing with public life. Fame, he explains, can amplify both joy and sorrow. Every interview, every public appearance, carries the risk of misinterpretation or intrusion. Protecting family and maintaining personal boundaries remains a daily practice. And yet, he also recognizes the value in speaking openly. Sharing his story, he says, allows others to see that even those who appear strong, unyielding, or invulnerable struggle with the same universal human experiences. There is courage, he insists, in acknowledging vulnerability. He reflects on the lessons for his children as well. Parenting in the shadow of grief has required both patience and honesty. He has strived to demonstrate resilience without minimizing pain, to show that it is possible to grieve while still moving forward, to live fully while honoring memory. They need to see that loss is part of life, but it does not have to define them, he says. Teaching this balance, he believes, is one of the most important legacies he can leave. In Part 5, Tommy also considers the broader implications of his story for audiences. He emphasizes that grief and adversity are universal. Everyone, at some point, confronts loss, disappointment, or heartbreak. What matters is not the absence of hardship, but the willingness to face it with honesty, compassion, and presence. He encourages viewers to nurture relationships, to embrace vulnerability, and to recognize that the most meaningful aspects of life are often invisible. Moments of connection, empathy, and understanding that cannot be captured in headlines or award ceremonies. As the narrative draws toward reflection, Tommy Lee Jones speaks about hope, not as naive optimism, but as a deliberate choice to continue living meaningfully despite sorrow. He finds solace in small gestures, a shared conversation, a comforting routine, a quiet evening with family. These acts, he emphasizes, carry profound significance. They represent continuity, care, and enduring bonds that tragedy cannot sever. Ultimately, Part 5 reinforces the enduring message of Tommy Lee Jones' story, that life, even when shadowed by grief, can be full of depth, meaning, and connection. Tragedy may shape us, challenge us, and even break us momentarily, but it also has the power to deepen empathy, strengthen resilience, and clarify what truly matters. For audiences, the story is both a revelation and a mirror, a reminder that behind every public persona is a human being navigating the same universal experiences: love, loss, and the courage to continue. In closing, Tommy reflects quietly on legacy. Not fame, awards, or accolades, but the way a life touches others, the guidance offered to family, the care shown to friends, the empathy extended to strangers. This, he says, is the truest measure of a meaningful life. And while the shadow of tragedy remains, it coexists with hope, love, and the quiet strength that comes from surviving and continuing. Tommy Lee Jones reflects, does not erase grief, it reframes it. The raw edges of loss remain, but with them comes perspective, acceptance, and an understanding that life continues even as memory lingers. In Part 6, he speaks about the subtle transformation that tragedy has wrought, the ability to find beauty in fleeting moments, to appreciate the ordinary, and to recognize the fragility and resilience of human connection. He recalls mornings spent quietly with his children, the small rituals that once went unnoticed but now carry profound meaning. A simple breakfast, a shared smile, a story told and retold. These are no longer trivial acts, but anchors in a life that has been deeply marked by absence. Each moment of presence, he says, becomes a conscious act of love, a deliberate counterpoint to the inevitability of loss. Tommy Lee Jones also discusses the professional dimension of this transformation. As an actor, he has always been drawn to complex characters, those who grapple with moral ambiguity or inner turmoil. Yet now, after decades of personal experience with tragedy, his performances carry a deeper emotional resonance. Grief, understanding, and empathy inform every gesture, pause, and glance. Directors and co-stars have noted that he conveys not only the narrative of a character, but the unspoken weight of lived experience, a quality that elevates his craft beyond mere technique. Yet even with this growth, he is candid about the ongoing struggle. Healing is not linear. Some days bring clarity and peace, while others are marked by the sudden sting of memory, a familiar scent, a photograph, or an unspoken absence that reminds him of what was lost. It is a rhythm he has come to accept, recognizing that acknowledging grief is not a sign of weakness, but a form of strength. Facing the pain directly, rather than avoiding it, allows him to continue moving forward with intention and awareness. Family remains central to his reflections. He shares the importance of honesty, presence, and emotional accessibility in nurturing those closest to him. Parenting, he says, is a continuous exercise in balance, providing guidance while allowing space for autonomy, offering protection without sheltering from reality, and demonstrating both strength and vulnerability. The lessons learned through loss have shaped not only his relationships with his children, but also his understanding of himself, his limitations, capacities, and the responsibility of being fully present. Beyond personal reflection, Tommy Lee Jones offers broader insight into human experience. Everyone encounters moments of suffering, disappointment, or grief. Yet resilience is not about avoiding hardship, but about navigating it with honesty, empathy, and presence. By sharing his story, he hopes to offer a model for others, that it is possible to confront sorrow, honor memory, and still engage with life fully. He emphasizes that connection, whether with family, friends, or the broader community, is the foundation upon which healing and fulfillment are built. He also touches on the interplay between fame and personal life. While Hollywood can amplify both joys and sorrows, he has learned to compartmentalize, to create boundaries, and to protect the intimacy of family while remaining authentic in public life. Speaking openly about his experiences, he notes, has been both challenging and liberating. By acknowledging his own vulnerabilities, he demonstrates that even those admired for strength and stoicism are human, and that courage often lies in embracing, rather than hiding, one's emotional truth. As the interview progresses, he shares moments of quiet gratitude, simple acts, a conversation, laughter, a shared meal, have gained profound significance. These are the moments that define life, he asserts, not awards, recognition, or fame. Tragedy has clarified what truly matters: love, presence, and the intentional cultivation of meaningful relationships. Even in sorrow, there is opportunity for growth, connection, and understanding. By the end of Part 6, it is clear that Tommy Lee Jones' journey is defined not by the losses he endured, but by the resilience, reflection, and emotional honesty he cultivated along the way. Tragedy shaped him, yes, but it also illuminated the profound capacity for empathy, the importance of human connection, and the enduring value of being present for those we love. His story is a testament to the human spirit, a reminder that even in the shadow of loss, life carries the possibility of meaning, joy, and intimate connection. As Tommy Lee Jones reflects on his life today, he speaks with a quiet clarity that only comes from decades of experience, struggle, and reflection. Part 7, the final chapter of this story, focuses not on the tragedy itself, but on the enduring lessons, the resilience cultivated, and the values that have emerged from pain. It is a portrait of a man who has confronted sorrow, embraced vulnerability, and emerged with a deeper understanding of what it truly means to live. He begins by acknowledging the permanence of grief. Loss, he says, never truly disappears. It changes shape, sometimes subtle and manageable, sometimes sharp and sudden. Yet he has learned that grief need not dominate life. It can coexist with love, joy, and purpose. Life is not about avoiding the shadows, he explains, but about learning to walk in the light despite them. These words encapsulate the philosophy that has guided him through decades of personal and professional life: acceptance, resilience, and presence. Family, he emphasizes, remains the cornerstone of meaning. The lessons he has learned through personal hardship inform how he interacts with his children, loved ones, and even colleagues. Patience, empathy, and emotional honesty are now central to his relationships. He reflects on the importance of being present, not just physically, but emotionally. To truly love someone, he explains, requires openness, vulnerability, and the willingness to share both joy and pain. For him, these acts of connection define a life well lived far more than fame or accolades ever could. Tommy also revisits the impact of tragedy on his craft. As an actor, he has always drawn on human complexity, yet now his performances carry additional depth. Directors and co-stars note the subtle emotional resonance in his work, the way he channels lived experience into gestures, expressions, and pauses. Tragedy has not only shaped his personal life, but enriched his art, giving him an authenticity that audiences respond to instinctively. Every character I play, he says, carries a piece of a life I've lived, the losses, the lessons, the moments that shaped me. Despite the pain, he speaks about hope, not naive optimism, but a deliberate choice to move forward with intention. Each day offers opportunities to nurture relationships, to engage meaningfully with the world, and to honor those lost by living fully. The small moments, the shared laughter, quiet conversations, gestures of care, become sacred, reminders that life's true treasures are often invisible, yet profoundly impactful. He also shares a broader reflection for audiences. Grief, loss, and hardship are universal. No one is exempt from life's challenges, regardless of fame or fortune. Yet it is possible to confront adversity with courage and compassion, to allow pain to teach rather than imprison, and to embrace the resilience inherent in every human being. Tommy's story becomes not just a personal narrative, but a universal lesson in endurance, empathy, and the profound importance of human connection. In recounting these experiences, he stresses the value of emotional honesty. Strength, he notes, is not measured by the absence of vulnerability, but by the ability to acknowledge it. He encourages others to speak openly about their struggles, to seek connection, and to recognize that the greatest growth often comes from confronting what is most difficult. By sharing his story, he hopes to normalize vulnerability, showing that even those admired for toughness are human, and that true courage lies in authenticity. As Part 7 concludes, Tommy Lee Jones offers a vision of life that balances reflection with forward movement. He honors the past without being consumed by it, cherishes the present without taking it for granted, and plans for the future with intention and hope. He speaks of legacy, not fame or accolades, but the impact one has on those closest to them, the love and guidance extended, and the quiet acts of care that ripple across time. These, he asserts, are what endure when everything else fades. Finally, he reflects on the overarching lesson of his journey. Life is a tapestry woven from grief, love, resilience, and connection. Tragedy shapes us, yes, but it does not define us. We carry the lessons forward, build deeper relationships, and engage with life more fully. By embracing both sorrow and joy, vulnerability and strength, we create a life that is meaningful and enduring. For audiences, this final chapter leaves a lasting impression. Tommy Lee Jones is not just a Hollywood icon, but a human being who has faced profound loss and emerged with wisdom, empathy, and an unwavering commitment to love and presence. His story resonates universally, reminding us all that even in the shadow of tragedy, life continues, and it is our connections, courage, and compassion that define our true legacy. And so, the series ends not with closure, but with continuity, a reminder that grief and love, loss and hope coexist in every life. Tommy Lee Jones' journey is complete in its narrative arc, yet ongoing in its lived experience, offering a timeless message: to face life honestly, to connect deeply, and to cherish every fleeting, precious moment.